Okay, today we are going to learn about very relevant halachas and a summary of 23 sessions that we already had on this topic, each one approximately half an hour. This is the third part to the summer. We're going to be learning about very relevant halachas pertaining to, number one, eating food before Shabbos. What is the story over there in that mitzvah, aka it's called Tohameha, saying that we are doing this act in honor of Shabbos, lekavod Shabbos Kodesh. We're going to learn about honoring Shabbos from the Gemara very briefly, the removal of spider webs before or on Shabbos, and learning Torah, eriv Shabbos, and miscellaneous. Hopefully we could get to everything and finish up this entire siman right now. So right now what we're going to do is we are going to go through the Word document that I wrote. We're going to do a screen share of the summary of these 23 sessions that we already had, and we are up to page 7. And we already learned the 2 previous parts, and that will be I will link that up there so you could click on it to watch the first 2 if you haven't already. Tohameha, the Magen Avram quotes the Arizal, who rules that there is a mitzvah to taste from everything that is cooked on Erev Shabbos. There's a mitzvah to taste from everything on Erev Shabbos. Every single food item. We're going to come back to that as to why many people don't eat from every single item that's being cooked for Shabbos before Shabbos. Eishel Avram explains that the reason for this halacha is to determine if the food needs salt or another spice. In other words, the simple reason behind this halacha is that we should taste from all the food items in order to determine its status in terms of, does it taste good? Does it need to be fixed in any way, shape, or form in terms of spices, etc.? Cooked more, whatever it is. Now, according to this reasoning, seemingly everyone doesn't need to taste the food erev Shabbos. It would be sufficient if one person tasted from the food to determine its status. Excellent point, right? According to this idea that the main purpose of tasting the food erev Shabbos is so that we could determine its status and if it needs to be fixed or enhanced in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, not everyone needs to taste from it. Only one person in the family would need to, aka usually the woman who's doing the cooking, the mother, the wife. The Nemuke Orachaim and Lukutei Maharich defend the practice of those who don't taste from every dish on Erev Shabbos. So already we're going into why don't many people do this and taste from every single dish. They say that we rely on our wives who cook and have more expertise than the men. Right. In other words, according to what we just said, that it's about enhancing the food so that it tastes better. Therefore, the women have more expertise in this regard, and therefore will be adequate if only they are the ones who taste from it and no one else. Furthermore, the Zohar says, Furthermore, the Zohar says in the Chelek Aleph on page Mem Ches Amud Beis that the tasting that is being referred to is done on Shabbos night. Nevertheless, the custom of men of great deeds is to taste from minimally one dish erev Shabbos, because aside from the practical reason of making sure that the food tastes good, there is also a Kabbalistic reason for this halacha. So in other words, we see that no, it's not just about the food item tasting good, or how could we enhance the food item to taste better. There are Kabbalistic reasons as well for tasting this food. Now, the Zohar says, keep in mind, this is a proof why not everyone needs to taste from it. The answer is because when we say tasting, according to the Zohar, it's referring to on Shabbos night itself, not on the eve of Shabbos, which the general halacha is not that way, but nevertheless, it's something that we could use to go lenient when we're also coupled with the fact that we could rely on other people, aka one person, to taste from it. So we're using this as what we call a siruf, to combine it in as a leniency. All right. Now, you should still taste from one dish, like we just saw. Make sure it tastes good, that you like it, etc. Okay, now, then there's also a Kabbalistic reason. Okay, fine, that's also a Mishnah Bruin, Os, Chav Gimel. The Shar HaKavanos, that's going to be the Arizal. Jushi Seder Shabbos, Jewish, Aleph, Inyan Kavanos, okay. Kavanos. Okay, says that it is fitting for someone to taste from the food erev Shabbos, because if we were hosting a king, we would surely taste from every dish and make sure that it was perfect. Good point. Machzor Vitri in siman Kufsad the Aleph says that someone who tastes from the food erev Shabbos will merit longevity. Yerushalmi explains that one should taste from the dishes in order that he won't be upset over a burnt dish. So in other words, make sure that nothing is burnt. So Os V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah quotes this in Os Chav Hey 25. So make sure that nothing is burnt, because if something is burnt, then a quarrel could result on Shabbos, which will be an issue. Shara Tzion quotes the Shulchan Shlomo that says if tasting the Shabbos food Erev Shabbos is a mitzvah, then eating the food on Shabbos is certainly a mitzvah, and one should eat from every single dish. That's an excellent point. If we're saying that eating the food Erev Shabbos is a mitzvah, then certainly on Shabbos itself it would be a mitzvah. The Shabbos Chuvas Nishma Shabbos, Rav Harfinus in Siman Kuf Lamed Hey relates that the mitzvah of Tohameha is properly fulfilled by merely tasting the food, not filling up one's stomach completely. Very important point, and we discussed this yesterday. The mitzvah, well, actually we discussed overeating on Shabbos, but the mitzvah of Tohameha is exactly like it sounds. Tohameha means to taste. That's te'ima ba'alma, not achilu gemura. It's tasting, not stuffing yourself. All right? Now, Nishma Shabbos discourages. Here's the rip on apparently what happens in Bura Park, according to what we learned when we learned this in that session that David explained. This is in Siman Kuf Lamed Vav. The Shabbos with Nishma Shabbos discourages the practice of distributing, quote, Tohameha Shabbos food at the yeshivas or mikvaos. This is not the real Tohameha. This food wasn't prepared for Shabbos at all. Furthermore, the food won't be taste tested to determine if it should be changed or spiced differently for Shabbos, since it won't be eaten on Shabbos at all. One wouldn't even fulfill the mitzvah of Tohameha according to the Kabbalistic reasons, because the food isn't made to be eaten on Shabbos. Furthermore, the mitzvah of Tohameha requires a mere taste, not a full meal. Furthermore, this is considered a disgrace to the Shabbos food. After one fills his stomach with food before Shabbos, he then won't have an appetite to eat on Shabbos. Furthermore, the rips keep coming. Shabbos food is designated to be exclusive. What? Exclusive for Shabbos, not for the week. Yeah. It is also incorrect for restaurants to serve cholent on Thursday night, since cholent is a food that is designated for Shabbos. Hold it. Let's recap this lengthy idea over here and specify exactly what we're dealing with so that we could properly understand, okay? What this is talking about is apparently in certain mikvahs in Borough Park or certain yeshivas, they put out food for people to eat. Now, why do they do that? Very simple. Where there's Jews, there's food. They want to make a couple bucks. So the people, they're putting out food, cholent kugel, so that people buy it. They make a couple dollars. All right, very good. No, very bad. Because there's an idea of that is not Tohameha. And when people are going to be eating a lot of that food and they're going to be filled up before Shabbos, that's not good. There's also an idea of not eating Shabbos food during the week. Leftovers, we already learned that there was a leniency about. That was like the remnants from the korban. That's different. But the idea is that what? That this is an issue, because that food, no one's eating it to determine if it tastes good or not. Because no one's even eating that on Shabbos at all. So the whole thing is a fake. It's not Tohameha. That's not the main reason for this halacha that we just learned. The Kabbalah reasons you wouldn't be good. And also, it's not a full meal. It's a taste. You're just eating a little bit. It's a disgrace to Shabbos food. You're eating Shabbos food during the week.
Are we saying that you can only have the food that which you're going to eat at your Suda? Like you can, so let's say you are basically are potentially, if you always have a home cooked meal on Shabbos, you can't eat out Erev Shabbos, or you wouldn't be able to potentially eat out if you're not going to have that food at all. You can't eat there, right?
There's a difference of, we have to categorize what we're dealing with. We're talking about eating food before Shabbos. We're talking about fulfilling your obligation of Tohameha, which is specifically tasting food that's going to be eaten at your table on Shabbos.
So if you're not going to have that food,
These
then
people who are eating this food, no one's having it on Shabbos. There is zero Tohameha about it. Right? So first we're establishing that you're not fulfilling this mitzvah of Tohameha. After this, we're establishing that not only what?
But there's these places that are takeout places that are open on, obviously the Friday is the busiest day of the week.
Give me a chance of the takeout. Give me a chance of the takeout, because I'm recapping this whole long paragraph over here. All right, so give me a chance of the takeout, and then hold on, just give me another minute or two, okay? What this is saying is not only is it not Tohameha, but it's a disgrace to the Shabbos food. Not only, how is it disgrace to the Shabbos food? Because now you're not going to have an appetite to eat on Shabbos. So you're violating another halacha, which is you're supposed to go into Shabbos with an appetite. Okay? Which is more siman reish mem test. We didn't really learn that yet, but there's a well-known halacha about it based on the 10th parak of Pesachim. First Mishnah. Okay? Furthermore, Shabbos food is supposed to be having only on Shabbos, not during the week. So if it's not Tohameha, then you're additionally over this problem that's highlighted over here. All right? Now, David, this is tackling what you just asked. If restaurants serve chalent Thursday night, that's an issue, according to this idea. Because the Shabbos food is supposed to be designated for Shabbos. Remember, the leftovers are exception after Shabbos. So it's questionable. David, did that answer your question?
Yeah, so like it's interesting. So I knew a place that was a takeout place that didn't have a place to sit down. There's a Shabbos takeout that didn't have a place to sit down. And there's also a very popular place that does have a place to sit down. But, so unless those people are really taking out, you can't really, there wouldn't be a reason to sit down, basically.
I mean, there's nothing to do with sitting down or eating out.
This is all food. This
place, to buy for Shabbos, you're saying?
Yeah, why would they have a place to, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if you go to a restaurant Thursday night and you're buying it for Shabbos, so I don't know if Tohameha starts Thursday night. Tohameha probably starts only eriv Shabbos, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about the.
What'd you say, David?
We're not talking about Yom Shishi. We're not talking about the whole, Vayerev Vayiboker. We're not talking about. It doesn't start Thursday night, no.
I don't think so. I mean, think about it, David. Vayir Vayiboker means that Shabbos start. Oh, I see what you're saying because the day starts at night. Yeah, cute idea. Maybe we didn't see that brought down. The Tohameha starts Thursday night.
Like it's Friday afternoon to take the.
It seems like it's all about the afternoon because that's when the main time you should be cooking is and fixing things up.
Then again, for Shabbos on Thursday you can't because you're working.
Yeah, so then maybe it would be Thursday night. Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't address that. We never saw that brought down. So then maybe it could be. But again, you have to fool yourself. These bachrim, let's be honest, who are going out to hang out and they're trying to have some kosher fun and then eat the challah and the kugla and everything. Look, stick with the poppers, stick with the wings, stick with the meat, stick with the chicken, stick with the fries. That's all. There are plenty of bachrim in this neighborhood. I know. They have it in many restaurants now. Many now supermarkets. Self-serve challah stations, kugel stations, and everything.
Yeah, all the places have it. They advertise it.
Look, it's better than hanging out with a bunch of 15-year-old girls. You know what I'm saying? But but still, about that. But still, we're learning Hilchos Shabbos right now. We're talking Tohameha, and it's you're not supposed to have the Shabbos food during the week. Look, is this brought in Shulchan Aruch? No. Does this have a halachic basis for it? Yes. All right, that's all. Look, is this the worst sin in the world? No. There's a whole Torah I was learning. And, the Yetzer Hara, you start with one thing and then you get used to a bad thing and then you do the wrong thing your whole life. The small mitzvahs matter also. All right. Yeah.
It makes an interesting point that they all advertise Tohameha and the food isn't even made for Shabbos.
Yeah, you think the guys who own the restaurants are holding in the sugyas? They don't know. They're holding the sugyas and making money. That's what they're trying to do, make money. And then they're trying to false advertise and make it a religious thing when it's anti-religion. Which rabbi gave them the heter who learned the halachas the way they were learning it? How many hours did you spend learning the halachas of Tohameha? It's all on video. We got probably 15 hours that we did this. All right? Let's be honest. Come on. Just because a person also learned Basa B'Chalav Nida and parts of the Shabbos doesn't mean he learned the siman. This is not covered in smicha programs, the siman. I'm telling you right now. I've been asking around about that kasha that we had in the mitzvah Shabugufo. No one gave me a good answer. Whatever. All right. Piskei Teshuvos explains that there are also Kabbalistic reasons for Zalacha. I mean, we already know that. That should just come out. That's repetitious. All right, I'll leave it in there. And Machshavitch relates that a husband shouldn't get mad if the food doesn't taste good. I mean, that's obvious. We don't need a Machshavitch for that. Sefer Nefesh Chaya quotes the Gemara in Sanhedrin which relates that someone who changes his routine or cycle is the beginning of sickness. In other words, person eats a certain way the entire week, and now on Shabbos he's changing and he's eating different foods. Right? Person is in New York and it's cold in the winter, and then goes to Florida, then comes back, he's gonna get a cold because of the weather changes. Based on this, Nefesh Chaya explains that we taste from the food Erev Shabbos in order to accustom our body to the Shabbos food we will eat on Shabbos, which is different from the weekday food. Shmir Shabbos Kehilchasa relates that the reason for the mitzvah of Tohameha is in order that we permissibly fix/enhance the food before Shabbos rather than on Shabbos itself. We don't want to inadvertently violate Shabbos by cooking the food in order to make it better. Excellent point. A lot of times a person's cooking meat, grilling steak. So he brings the steak in from the grill outside his house, shows it to his wife. He says, that thing's raw as anything. Well, you just killed the animal right now? Go back in, pull it back on the grill. Oh yeah, no problem. Tohameha, you saw it, you tasted from it. Yeah, I'll put it back. So we don't want that to happen on Shabbos. By the way, remember the rule. The food cooks when it comes off the grill also. It still cooks when it's hot. So you got to know that as grilling and cooking strategies. And especially if it's going to go in the oven on Shabbos mode or on a hot plate or something, it's still going to cook a lot of times on that. So every good chef, they got to know that. That's another discussion. Piskei Teshuvos explains that according to many of these reasons, there would also be a mitzvah of Tohameha Erev Yontif. However, we don't find Svarim of Poskim and Minhagim bring this. However, we don't find that Svarim of Poskim and Minhagim bring this halacha, right? Yeah, it could be based on this last reason that where you could cook on Yontif, so and you could fix the food up. So
So
the whole reason, isn't it? It could be, yeah.
it doesn't hold.
Yeah, it could very well be. Okay. The question is, what is the story with saying lekavod Shabbos Kodesh? Is that going to be an obligation? Do we need to say it? Could we think it? Magen Avram quotes the Arizal, who says that one should say on everything that he purchases that he is buying it in honor of Shabbos. Zehu lekavod Shabbos Kodesh. Shulchan Aruch Harav relates that whatever one does for Shabbos, he should additionally think that he is doing it in honor of Shabbos. Shlosh says that one should say about whatever one purchases, prepares, and cooks for Shabbos that he is doing it in honor of Shabbos. The holiness will then spread onto the food and will emit a good spiritual aroma. However, this depends on the person and according to his actions, thoughts, and how much he connects to Hashem. Mishnah Brura and Magen Avram only mention saying in honor of Shabbos regarding purchasing items, not preparing and cooking the food. Source of the Shulchan Aruch Harav is the Sefer Hayira, written by Rabbeinu Yonah. Sefer Hayira says that whenever someone does something for Shabbos, he should think that he is doing it in honor of Shabbos. This would include showering. This certainly applies to food-related preparations on Shabbos. By the showering, you say lekavod Shabbos Kodesh before you go in the bathroom. So let's just recap.
And if not, we said you think it, right?
Right, yeah. So let's just recap this paragraph over here. All right. Whenever you buy something, it's in honor of Shabbos. You should also think it, or minimally think it. If you're not going to say it, you should minimally think it. Oh yeah, Piskei Teshuvos relates that one should preferably verbalize that he is doing a certain act in honor of Shabbos. Minimally, he should think that he's doing it in honor of Shabbos. Right, exactly. So preferably you say it. Also think it, of course, if you're going to say it. If you're just saying something and not thinking, then what are you doing? But you think it also. You should try to think it. Shlosh says that one should say about whatever one purchases, prepares, and cooks for Shabbos, that he does it, right, that you're doing it. Whatever you do for Shabbos, just say that you're doing it in honor of Shabbos. All right. Now this is a good point also over here. How much do you really mean what you're saying, and how are your thoughts and your action? How are you really connecting this to Hashem when you're saying in honor of Shabbos? Maybe this is why a lot of people don't say it, because they don't have that connection, so to say. So this is an interesting sheet, the Magen Avram and Mishnah Brura. It's pretty surprising. Only by purchasing items, not preparing and cooking the food. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense. So, but again, according to the Sefer Hayira, it would be everything. Seems like the general halacha. Well, actually, not preparing the food. That's the Shulchan Aruch Harav. Wait a second, what does this mean? Shulchan Aruch Harav. Source of the Shulchan Aruch Harav. Which Shulchan Aruch Harav is this referring to? I'm not sure because nothing was quoted above. So, oh, Shulchan Aruch Harav. Whatever you do. Ah, okay. So the source of this Shulchan Aruch Harav said that whatever you do, you should think that it's in honor of Shabbos, aka not only the purchasing the items. So the source of this is a Sefer Hayira that says that whatever you do something for Shabbos, you should think that you're doing it honoring a Shabbos. That includes everything, even the preparations. Okay. Let's move. Who's Yosef, the one who honors Shabbos? The Gemara in Shabbos relates that the stargazer, that But the stargazer, so the Gemara relates to the stargazers told a guy, someone who wasn't Jewish, that Yosef would get all of his money. So he then sold everything that he had to purchase an expensive gem. He put the gem in a hat, which was on his head. When he was walking on a bridge, a wing came and blew it off. A fish ate the gem. They brought the fish to the marketplace right before Shabbos and said, "Who will buy this fish?" They brought the fish to Yosef and he bought it. When Yosef bought it, he found the gem inside. Yosef sold the gem for 13 attics filled with gold. An older person met him and said, someone who spends or borrows / spends for Shabbos will be paid back by Shabbos. Footnote 66. 67. The Marshal explains that the number 13 is significant because there are 13 midos of Hashem. The Gematria of the word Echad is 13. Torah is darshan in 13 ways. Boys become bar mitzvah when they are 13. The Gemara also mentioned 13 by the butchers. It's a Jason Gemara over there. Ben Yodota explains that it is it was heavenly orchestrated that the gem was placed in a hat on the head. This hints to Yosef meriting this because he honored Shabbos, which is the head of the week. Furthermore, the wealth was brought to him via fish. The gematria of dag, fish, is 7. This hints to the merit of Shabbos. The older person that the Gemara mentions, Eliyahu Hanavi. Yosef went above and beyond the halacha. Yosef bought the fish right before Shabbos when there is no time to cook it. He already purchased and cooked fish for Shabbos. He only purchased a fish so that the fishermen will continue to fish on Erev Shabbos the next week, the following weeks, the upcoming weeks. Upcoming is one word.
Nothing is because you have a COMO. Okay.
There it is. Sorry. Typo. If no one will buy the fish, then they won't fish. After he bought the fish, he sold it in order to preserve it for the next Shabbos. Since Yosef did more than he was obligated to do, he was called Yosef, the one who honors Shabbos. What's the story with spider webs? The Mishpah Zav relates that every Erev Shabbos, one should remove the spider web in his house. Magen Avram, Siman Reish Samach Beis, quotes the Reishish Chachma who says that one must remove spider webs from the house before Shabbos. So the idea over here is that what? It's a good idea to remove the spider webs. Torah's Chaim, Gimel, we discussed over there more about the spider webs, says that one also needs to sweep the house before Shabbos. The Mishnah Brura in our siman quotes the Chayadim who rules that one certainly needs to sweep Erev Shabbos to make sure that there's no dirt or dust around the house. We must imagine as if a very important guest is coming to our house. Just like if a king was coming to our house, we would make sure that the house is very clean and tidy. So too, the Shabbos queen is visiting us, and the house must therefore be very clean and tidy. See also Sharat Sion in our siman Os Yud. What is the halacha if someone didn't remove the spider webs before Shabbos? Is it permissible to remove Is it permissible to remove spider webs on Shabbos? The answer is yes. Mishnah Shabbos rules, but it depends. That it is permissible to remove the spider webs on Shabbos by using a broom. According to the Chazon Ish, prohibited because there's a prohibition of moving something that is muksa. However, Mishnah Shabbos holds that it is permissible because tiltul min asad l'sorach tavar mutter. In other words, it's moving something in a abnormal manner. There's even more of a reason to be lenient if the spider webs are in an area where everyone is and people are getting disgusted from it. The spider web, in that case, would have the status of a pitcher of excrement, which would be permissible to remove. Yafa Lev holds that if the web is attached to the wall, then removing the web is subject to the prohibition of toilish, to consider detaching. Shmir Shabbos Kelchaz Kol Shalom Zaman Orbach and B'Tel Chachma. Who rule that there is no problem of detaching. In a situation when there's no problem of muksa, for example, if the web is being removed in an abnormal way, or if the web is the status of a pitcher of excrement, then it's permissible to remove. In other words, spider webs can be removed on Shabbos, but it should be done in an abnormal way, aka when it comes to using like a broom to remove it, or if it has the status of a picture of excrement. So all of the sources are in these footnotes over here. Just follow the numbers that were above. Just want to skip that and just do the miscellaneous first. Mishpah Zav relates that every eriv Shabbos one should think about repenting. Shari Tshuva relates that the sweat that one perspires for the Shabbos preparations are a segula, good omen for sins to be erased. Therefore, one needs to burn himself a lot to prepare for Shabbos. In other words, before Shabbos, it's an auspicious time. Think about ways, introspection that we could fix ourselves and repent. And additionally, is that if you get sweaty from preparing for Shabbos, don't worry, that's good for your sins. I think they actually said that this helped the chait of if a person was with the pagam of his bris, he didn't treat his bris properly. We learned that back then. Nishma Shabbos rules that one should strive to have wine, not grape juice, during each Suda on Shabbos to fill Oneg Shabbos. Someone who made Kiddush right before his Suda does not need to have wine during the Suda itself. So if you made Kiddush right before your meal, that's considered as if you had the wine during the meal itself. Nishma Shabbos rules that there's a concept of buying flowers on Shabbos. Based on the Beikra Rabbah and Gemara, to buy flowers for Shabbos. The truth is, this is more Shalom Bayis in Yonim, which someone actually strongly recommended that I put things out on Shalom Bayis. But right now we're going to stick with what we're doing over here. Question is in addition to this, but maybe one day. But anyways, the buying the flowers for Shabbos. We discussed when we learned in the past about buying the flowers. Makes your wife happy. Okay. The Gemara in Eruvin relates that Eliyahu will not come on Erev Shabbos in order that he won't disturb us from preparing for Shabbos. Here are the sources in this footnote. Follow the numbers over here. So those are the miscellaneous halachas. Now we are going to do the last topic.
Is there an issue of doing tshuva on Shabbos, or
maybe?
Isn't that supposed to have a? I mean, Yom Kippur is different. Slicha and Kapara, you can even do that on Shabbos, but Yom Kippur, I guess it's Zeres HaKasan.
I don't know. Tshuva itself could be. We'll have to see when we get into the real Chacham Shabbos.
You see that if you make a Tanis on Shabbos, you have to make a makeup. I mean, you can do a Tanis on Shabbos, you have to make a makeup.
Yeah. Yishuv Tanis Latanis or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to. I mean, this is technically called Hilchot Shabbos, but it's really everything before Shabbos.
No, I understand. That's what I'm saying. He says you should have to do it Erev Shabbos.
Yeah.
Why, Shabbos.
I mean, the value of this is it's so important. This material. I mean, and especially with everything, it's all this fire and everything.
It's very practical.
It's so applicable. It's just
it hits so many. I mean, you see how many bases you're touching upon.
Yeah, it's so important.
Everything going on in the world. I mean, the Tohameha.
What we learned when we learned the last Piskei Chuvas, like 3 days ago, maybe on Monday. Today's Thursday, maybe on Monday. When we learned it and we went through like the different foods. Remember that very, very long footnotes in the Piskei Chuvas with the soup, with the challah,
the soup. Yeah.
That got over 50 views already from just 3 days ago.
The picture, the challah wasn't so hot.
Yeah, I said I knew it. It was my type of picture. That's what I thought. I like that type of challenge. That got a lot of views. So yeah. The people, they don't want to learn halacha. They just want to learn, why did Jews eat challah? Why did Jews eat kugel? People don't. But the halacha, every single Jew has to know halacha. It's nothing to talk about. Even if you're more of a hashkafa person, more of a agadita person, you still have to know halacha, or else you're walking this there. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. All right. Learning Torah Erev Shabbos. There's going to be some new chedushim in here. We got 8 minutes to do it, so we're going to get it done. Mishnah Zav relates that every Erev Shabbos one should learn less Torah in order that he helps out for Shabbos. Now, who is the Prima God in the Mishpah Zav referring to when he says learn less Torah? Levush and Ramah rule this way as well. Magen from a Mishnah Brew quote: the Seder Hayom who rules that learning a set amount or teaching Torah publicly is allowed. Shulchan Aruch Harav relates that one should decrease his Torah learning on Erev Shabbos. The Shulchan Aruch Harav for all the Lubavitchers out there. One should also decrease his other dealings Erev Shabbos in order that he has ample time to prepare for Shabbos. This doesn't apply if someone already prepared for Shabbos on Thursday or if someone else will prepare for him. He then relates that some places have the custom not to have yeshiva on Erev Shabbos. This is all the Shulchan Aruch Harav we're talking about. Some places have the custom not to have yeshiva on Erev Shabbos, since learning in yeshiva is something that doesn't have a set amount of time, and learning might drag out too long. I would say nowadays, halavai, anyone's learning should drag out too long. No one really gets caught up in their learning nowadays. But consequently, there won't be enough time to prepare for Shabbos. However, someone who learns a set amount daily, which is pretty much most people nowadays, should continue with this learning Erev Shabbos. Furthermore, public shiurim should continue on Erev Shabbos. Mishnah Berurah quotes Magen Avraham rules that if the custom of the place is to sell food early and there won't be any food left after the learning, then one should only begin learning after he purchases the Shabbos food. You got to know your market, know your situation. If you're going to run out of food, you got to buy the food before. Here's my favorite part. Good?
The custom is the place to sell food, right? And it won't be the food, right? That you go before learning.
Good?
And before davening, right? The Rebbe didn't
Yeah,
mention davening.
What?
We didn't mention davening. I mean, we learned it before.
We learned it before already about that.
Yeah.
What about davening?
No, we said that
if the only time to get it is before davening, so you get the food before davening.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. This is my favorite section. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
To anyone who isn't married, listen carefully. Rav Yisrael Harfin to the Shalosh of Nishma Shabbos and Siman Kuf Mem Hey relates. Bachrim and yeshiva should be learning full force on Erev Shabbos. This certainly applies if they do not need to take part in the cooking, which is the case many times. Right? In other words, if a bacher doesn't need to cook anything for Shabbos, keep learning. The Shabbos preparation of a bacher is to learn with diligence. You see that? What is Hachana Shabbos for a bacher? To learn seriously. The Chafetz Chaim was upset about people who don't learn on Erev Shabbos and Shabbos. Why do you think I'm able to learn the way I do nowadays and with all this depth and all the clarity? The answer is when I was a bacher, I'd learn every single Shabbos from 4:30 in the morning until 2 hours before Shabbos. Do the math, how many hours that is over the years. Do the math. What do you think? A person just gets to this out of nowhere? You got to sit and learn. The Chafetz Chaim was upset about people who don't learn on Erev Shabbos and Shabbos. This is 20 years of someone's life who's going to live 7 years. 20 years, you're flushing down the drain if you don't learn on Shabbos and Erev Shabbos. Chazon Ish would warn and instruct his Talmidim to learn at times when only a few amount of people are learning. For example, after Chatzois Erev Shabbos, after midday Erev Shabbos, a lot of Bittul Torah, that is the time to buckle down. The Taz and Rabbi Akiva Eiger said that they only merited the levels they reached because they learned at times when few people were learning. This is similar to a mace mitzvah. Imagine you walk outside, there's a dead body on the street and no one's around. You got to take care of that dead body. So too the Torah, it's like dead at those times. Sefer Kerem Yeshua explains that this includes Erev Shabbos, Erev Yontif, Motzei Shabbos, after fasting, and Purim. These are all times that we have to get serious about learning. Seipler explains that someone who learns Torah at times when only a few people are learning will receive more heavenly assistance. You'll get more of the siyata d'shmaya, more heavenly assistance when you learn during these times when no one else is learning. Furthermore, you'll be able to learn mashali bochafetz, whatever you want to learn. You won't be obligated to learn the curriculum that they are learning in the yeshiva.
Hey, you want to hear something funny?
No, because we only have 4 minutes and I want to finish this. So first,
an inspiring story.
The pasuk in Yeshua states that one should learn Torah day and night. How is it possible for someone to learn Torah day and night uninterrupted? Radak explains that one must learn whenever he has time. When one isn't working or doing anything else of importance, he should learn. So that's the language of the Radak. Either according to Tzif Yeshua, Rabbi Landakam in the Yeshua section, Perak al Pasuk Ches. Mishnah Berurah paskins this way as well. This is how the Mishnah Berurah himself rules in Siman Kuf, and you see the recording on that kind of Mishnah Berurah for more details. Mishnah Berurah explains that there is no amount when it comes to learning. One is obligated to learn whenever he has time. Iker mitzvahs Talmud Torah ein lo shir v'chiyuvahu kol hayom kol zman sheyish lo pnai kizkiv lo yamush. Whenever a person has time, he has to learn, unless he needs downtime, which also that has to be the discussion of itself. How much downtime you really need? The source of this ruling of the Mishnah Berurah is the Gron Sefer Shnos Eliyahu. Vilna Gaon explains that there's no minimum or maximum that one must learn. The pasuk of Vayikra you should delve after the Torah day and night teaches us that there is no maximum amount that one can learn. Regarding the minimum, someone who learns one word can fulfill the obligation of learning Torah. And then he goes into the details. If the pasuk wouldn't have said Vayikra, we would have thought that we can fulfill our obligation by learning one word of Torah, even if we have more time to learn. Pasuk of Vayikra teaches us otherwise. However, someone who needs to be involved with the mitzvah parnasa, which is also a mitzvah, can technically exempt himself if he just learns one word of Torah. This concept of someone being able to fulfill his obligation of learning Torah by learning one word of Torah teaches us a fundamental concept. We need to cherish learning Torah. Every single word of Torah is independently a mitzvah, a positive mitzvah. The proof to this is one can fulfill his obligation of learning Torah by learning one word and this still equates to all the mitzvahs. The halacha is we don't stop learning even to perform a mitzvah if someone else is able to perform the mitzvah. Based on the previous explanation, the reason for this is obvious. Since every single word of Torah is a big positive mitzvah and equal to all the mitzvahs, learning Torah overrides performing other mitzvahs. This being so, when someone learns one daf, he fulfills hundreds of mitzvahs. It's therefore better to fulfill hundreds of mitzvahs rather than one mitzvah. However, if it is impossible to perform a mitzvah by someone else, then one must stop learning Torah in order to perform that mitzvah. The idea is people need time to earn a living, spend time with family, exercise, and some downtime. However, when one isn't involved with those activities, he must learn. One must also make sure not to have too much downtime as well. Rambam says that everyone is obligated to learn Torah, whether they're wealthy, poor. It is relevant whether one is married, old or young. Even if someone who collects money from stucco box, he's obligated to learn Torah. Even someone who has a lot of kids, he's obligated to set time to learn Torah during the day and night. Shulchan Aruch rules this way as well. Rabbi Eisenberger from Brooklyn David, therefore rules that if someone was unable to learn and is already on their bed ready to go to sleep, get up, should immediately open up a sefer and learn something. Do something, open a shir on your phone, whatever the video. A parent once told me, is a parent who paid me thousands of dollars over the years. A parent once told me, make sure my kid, who was one of my chavrus at the time, flip out, he was then 20 at the time, make sure my kid doesn't learn too much. I responded, there's no such thing as learning too much. I don't care, you can fire me. I'm telling you the truth. You can fire me. Couldn't care less. I'm going to say it as is. You got to learn Torah. It'll make you a better person. David, what do you want to say before?
I was going to say an inspiring story about I was going to say Ari once told me his Zaidi didn't leave yeshiva for a year and a half. He didn't leave the building for a year and a half.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, that's the way to do it. When I was learning in Eretz Yisrael, I didn't leave either.
No.
Where are you going to go? What's more important than yeshiva? We have limited time on this world. We're all ticking time bombs. We have limited time. We have to utilize while we're on this planet. Utilize it for Torah and mitzvahs.
Pretty exciting.
That's one of the reasons why putting these shirim up is great. I get reward for teaching Torah even when I'm sleeping. People are watching this stuff. Game over. It's like one time a Rosh Kolo came in from Eretz Yisrael and said, even if you're learning full time, and even if you already support Kolim over here in America, you got to support in Israel, different time zones, you get reward for Torah even when you're sleeping. It's a good point. All right. Have a wonderful day.